Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it, or you can help me to stop it.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific movie review podcast brought to you by Banterflix. Joining me on this week's episode, as always, is Adam What's Happening Neeson.
What's happening to all the mothers out there? Hope you had a nice day yesterday. Treated well.
Yeah, Mother's Day. You know, everybody loves the alien queen here at Banterflix, the ultimate mother. All she wants is the best for her xenomorphs. And listeners, you might hear the gentle chuckles of another guest. So we had Brian Mulholland last week. It's now the fourth show in the new format. So we have another guest, and that is Dr. Nicole Hamilton.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you back. We had you on the Christmas special when we were looking through the TV guide and got sidetracked and just generally talked about what made you cry, what made me cry. It was a bit of a cry fest.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun at the same time.
It was. It really
Did you
was.
watch any of the movies that we suggested? No.
What did I watch?
No.
I ended up watching a bunch of sequels to things. Like,
Okay.
I think I mentioned the Santa Claus 2 on that episode.
Yeah,
and I watched that.
You like the Santa Claus too,
Love the Santa Claus 2. Watched Grease 2.
Underrated.
It's a fantastic film. Better than the original, in my opinion.
Musically, maybe not performances, apart
no,
from Michelle Pfeiffer.
Choreography is
Okay.
fantastic in that
Want to
film.
weigh in on this Grease 2 debate, this greasy debate, Adam?
Never seen it. Just know that the main guy ended up on Emmerdale.
Yes, he did.
And what's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing.
That's success.
Everyone else great?
So I think we will kick off this week's pod. And I think, as always, we'll start with a little bit of banter. So, Adam, before we get into talking about movie news.
What was that?
So we're not allowed to say that
Oh.
because other comedians in Northern Ireland have trademarked that. So now before we get into the preamble, I want to talk a little bit about our general life. We have to say, hey guys, let's have a little bit of banter. So see what we've done? Okay, see what I've done? I'm getting clever. So I was teasing something to Nicole as we were waiting for your lovely self to come to the studio. And I've had an eventful week this week because I thought I was going to be able to outsmart Adobe. And I didn't. It didn't work. I got my money back, I will clarify. So a couple of weeks ago, we've the TV show's back and I've been looking for a few little stings and stuff to kind of make the show look as professional and slick as possible because I just bring it down slowly myself. And I got offered a free trial for Adobe. But I somehow managed to put my email address in wrong. So I didn't get any confirmation. They had my card details. And I was like, how am I going to be able to cancel this? Contacted them. And they're like, sorry, we've no record of this. There's no record of I'll not say, info@banterflix.com. Get in touch, listeners. And they were like, we have no record. It's like, I know you don't because I've put it probably like info or banter wix or something. And I was like, right, what will it do? I know. Rather than being a rational person, this is just going to... Nicole, we've only met a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, we've known each other for a wee while. This is going to give you a insight into my psyche of how it works. So rather than being a normal, sane person, wait till the money came out of my account and went, excuse me, Adobe, this has been an error. I'd like to get this rectified, please. Which the guy told me. He said, look, we can't do anything until the charges come out. And once that's done, we'll be able to sort it. Me, on the other hand, I was like, like Ross and Friends, Nagi. I was like, what if I just cancel my bank card? What if I just cancel my bank card and they'll never, that card will be null and void?
Mm-hmm.
So cancel the card, had to wait like 8 days before my bank card came. Couldn't use anything, was out anywhere. The way you've got into like most people just using your phone. Couldn't use that.
Now, how long would it have taken for the money to come out from Adobe?
A day.
Okay.
A day. Did that. And I was like, oh, it's great. And then the 29th came up. It's like, they're not going to be able to find me. The email address is wrong. The card won't work. Looked at my account. £75 come out of my account. I was like, where's that from? Adobe! So I had to phone them up. And the guy was like, yeah. I had to give him the new card. Even from the new card. I didn't think he could do that. From even the new card.
No, but they take it from your bank account, not your card.
But I give them my card details. I didn't give them a bank account.
I know, but doesn't the card details then unlock?
Well, all right. You're just a clever...
Is that how that works?
I think so.
Oh.
You're just a clever bastard. So I had to go and through everything. So from all my kind of subscription channels, everything, Netflix, etc., Amazon, for this podcast, everything that comes out, I had to go and cancel all that because they were like, this card is invalid. This is why I don't understand. They were saying that card's invalid. But yeah, Adobe, I think it's a scam, guys. So yeah, Adobe 1, Jim 0. So before we get into a bit of movie news, any general banter from you guys? Oh, said it. Sorry, Colin.
Gonna have to beep it in post.
Yeah,
Get that Adobe out.
Sorry, Colin. That's a pound we owe. That's a pound we owe now anyway. But what about you? Any of that banter of the non-specific type?
Started a new job.
Oh yes.
Where I'm not saying what it is, but I have to wear dress shoes. Usually I'm a big Converse man, have been for years. Which people will be like, that destroys your feet. Not me. I'm a flat-footed bitch. But dress shoes, and then I had to walk. Well, not had to walk. I could have got a taxi. But I walked like a mile and a half in them after putting them on for the first time. And then now I'm just walking fully everywhere.
You're walking like Kaiser Soze everywhere?
Yeah. Well, I said to my girlfriend whenever I was coming home, I was like, do you remember the Penguin in Gotham? That was me on my first day in work.
But hopefully, other than the fact that you can no longer walk correctly, you had a fun first day.
Ah, yeah. We'll see how it goes.
That wasn't very convincing.
No, working at retail is,
Yeah, I understand.
It is what it is.
We've all been there. We've all enjoyed the virtue of retail. Nicole, what about you?
This isn't recent banter, but I've done something very similar to what you did.
Okay.
I ordered...
You challenged the man and lost?
I pre-ordered the Batman Arkham games on the Switch a couple of months ago because I did buy a PS4 back in the day whenever it came out, and it lasted all of 6 hours before the blue light of death. But so I had to wait for them to come out on the Switch to properly play them because I didn't trust PlayStation anymore. And randomly one day £37.99 was charged to my account, and I was like, what is this? What's happening? I panicked, couldn't figure out what I had bought. Ended up ringing Santander to panic and cancel my card, even though the transaction was still pending, so nothing had actually come out yet. And they were like, fear though. It's terrifying. I was like, somebody's hacked into my account. They're going to steal all of my money. They're going to spend less than me. And the guy was like, nah, can't do anything about it until the charge is actually taken out of the account. I still panicked and cancelled my card on the app anyway, and couldn't use anything for like a week. Had to get my mum to just give me money like I was 12 years old again. And it turns out it was me. I was the one who bought the thing that cost £37.99. The Batman Arkham games were just slightly cheaper than I thought they were going to be. I don't... Not to find virtue in your own misfortune, I feel now relieved that even though I felt stupendously stupid, and as like the sense is like, I know this big, massive, mega rich company, I'm going to be able to thwart them out of £75 worth of money to get some stuff for free. I did technically get it for free, but for 24 hours they had my money. Yeah. So I actually going to retract it. It's Adobe 0, Jim 0. Next round we'll wait and see. So I think with that is our, banter of the non-specific type over and done with. Adam, I think it's time we hand over to the professional person for all our little bits of audio. So it's time now for a bit of
That's film news. There you go.
I think if I know our listeners, I definitely think there's going to be someone out there who's going to be, we've got to get these guys to do some jingles.
I was actually going to do a more advanced version of that, but then I was on the bus and I went, oh, yeah, the theme tune for this week.
Yeah. Okay. So, movie news as we went to record this evening. We will say right now, this episode was going out after the Oscars, so we haven't yet got to see Ryan Gosling do his thing and Oppenheimer clean up and everyone going, oh, it's great, Cillian Murphy, and then he'll probably make a joke about, do you want me to sing a Rebel song again? All that kind of stuff again. But who knows, what John Travolta has got up to, whose name he's got wrong this year.
Who's going to get slapped?
Who's going to get slapped? Who's going to get snubbed during the in memory section? Who'll pop up to sing, during that? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, Will Smith won't slap anybody during that. And that would be the ultimate. Well, I think he's banned, isn't he? He's not allowed. He's not allowed to be there anymore.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's not allowed to be there for like 10 years or something.
He should have been there in the first place. After watching King Richard. My will.
Well, we will be talking a little bit about, to an extent, about King Richard, because that is the director of that, isn't it? Ronaldo somebody?
Played for
Portugal. Played for Inter up front, but the director of that has done One Love, the Bob Marley movie, which I went to see on the recommendation of a colleague here at Q Radio, where I work during my day job. And we'll come to that shortly. But just as we went to record this evening, just to very briefly, with the Oscars, we're still hemming and hawing, Adam. We might do an Oscars special next week.
If you happen to be on TikTok and one of us is live, that'd be cool. If neither of us is live and we're sleeping, that's also sweet.
That might be the plan. We may or may not have done an Oscars special, but I know very much our own Joe McElroy is in Hollywood. You have that to look forward to on next week's show. I know James Oliver, he got in touch. He's very excited about that.
Can't wait to see the photos.
Yeah, photos are going to be amazing. The video, we're hoping to do a live, live to and back and forth in the studio next week when on the NVTV show. So we will be talking about the Oscars in the future, although I know it's in the past. Now, I feel like a bit, like my head's going to explode. I feel like Chris Nolan's directing this episode. But movie news-wise, generally, Nicole, just before we started to record, you weren't here, Adam, the trailer for Inside Out 2, the full trailer, has been released. And I'm still nervous about the film. I think it's out later this year, June time, May, June time. I'm not quite certain of the release. Someone email in. But I think it looks quite good. I mean, I do trust Pixar. Pixar usually do decent sequels, don't they? Apart from Cars 2. No one talks about Cars 2.
And Incredibles 2.
Oh,
I like The Incredibles too.
It's a bit muck, isn't it?
It's not amazing, but it's that sense. Do you know what? I think the problem with The Incredibles 2 is that we are looking at it's the design and the visuals of Incredibles 2 are amazing and how it looks. It holds a candle to those kind of classic Bond movies from the 60s. Visually, it's amazing, but probably in terms of what's going on,
it felt like, do you remember back in the day when Disney would make Saturday morning cartoons of their popular movies?
No, that's a disservice.
Jim.
Was it really that bad?
Like, it's not that bad, but it is kind of like you would expect, they've all grown up a wee bit and they're going to tell a different story of like older kids, but it's like literally happens the next day after Incredibles 1. And it's a wee bit like nothing's really progressed.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely been progression here in terms of age, because Riley looks like she's definitely grown. She's now in her teens. She's going through the turbulent, terrible teenage melodramas of life, and we have all new emotions. And yeah, I mean, it's great to see Amy Poehler and co back. You were reminding me Bill Hader's not going to be back, which is, I guess it's a vocal thing. I'll probably get over it. I only get upset when it's not Kevin Conroy as Batman. Unfortunately, that's not going to be happening in the future anytime soon. Apologies, Kevin. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But
apologies to heaven.
Apologies to heaven, because that's definitely where he is.
Yes.
That's definitely where Kevin Conroy is. I only ever get upset when it's someone doing Batman and it's not Kevin Conroy. And an animated, it's like, you're not Batman. You're not Batman. Why should I waste my time? And then he he does some terrible Batman animated movies, and you go, oh, Kevin. That's all right. I forgive him.
You got to pay the bills.
Yeah, got to pay the bills. But you guys, Adam, you intrigued? You excited about Inside Out 2?
No. Not really. No, not really. I watched the trailer and was kind of just like, I don't know. I feel like animated movies in the last few years haven't really been my bag. I haven't seen anything that's really excited me.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, or whatever the sequel's called?
No, thank you, sir. I didn't like that at all. Don't remember I hated it. What was the
I
last?
struggled to remember last week, Adam.
Elemental? Do you remember that shit? What happens if fire and water didn't get on? Guess what? They do. Isn't that crazy?
Can I confess? Now, I know we had Dr. Juliana Monteverdi on the TV show talk about it, and she kind of tore that film apart where she was really disappointed by it. I still admit, when I watched that, I had a little cry. And I think it's still, for me, it's the final sequences in Elemental between the daughter and the father. That's the stuff that's great in Elemental, the dynamic between the daughter and the father. I agree with you. The actual romantic angle is probably the most boring aspect. Because your old fella's, no pun intended, he's a bit of a drip.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a drip. But what about you, Nicole? You and I were both, I am nervous because I love Inside Out. Anyone, go back and listen to Nicole and I talking on the Christmas show, in the Christmas Listens episode, talk about my love for all things Inside Out. It's a film that has a very special place in my heart. I don't think it's in bad hands with a sequel. That's my thing. But and you were kind of saying it looks quite funny. You're like me, a little bit relieved.
Yeah, I pressed play quite nervous, but had a good time with the trailer anyway. Part of me kind of hopes that it doesn't hit the same emotional beats as the first one.
Yeah,
I just
still have to talk to my therapist about Inside Out.
Like, I don't
Bing
need the trauma.
Sorry.
But I think it looks quite good. I like the new additions that they've brought in. I like ennui and embarrassment quite a bit. I also love Maya Hawke and think she'll be a good anxiety. But we'll see, I guess. I raised the issue with you where I thought, our Disney, I hope it's not a case of teasing it and kind of doing like what they did with the remake of, or the live action version of Beauty and the Beast, and going, this is going to be Disney exploring and representing the LGBTQ plus community, all for like a little scene at the very end. Maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. It does happen, but with our lead, with Riley, it looks, I said to you, is like possibly they're going to maybe just hint at it because she's still a young girl in this, but there's a possibility of LGBTQ plus representation. I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen the film, so we don't know, but that's what I thought when I was watching, and you seem to think the same. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought it seemed like she was possibly having some sort of a crush in that brief little bit that we saw. So maybe. Who knows?
We'll have to wait and see till the film's out. Anything else? I mean, just very quickly, I'll throw out, so that Mission Impossible 8 has resumed filming. Hopefully Tom won't get angry again this time, but hopefully he can deliver. And we all know Adam loved the last Mission Impossible, if you listen to the last podcast.
I didn't hate it. It's just you and Brian loved it. I was like, I had to go check my letterbox to be like, what did I give that? I give it 3.5, Jim. You know what I mean? I wasn't.
I am also going to check my letterbox and see what I give it.
Good 4. It's a good solid 4.
I'll have to watch it again.
It's a good solid 4. But that's resumed filming. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. I still think we can't judge it because we haven't seen part 2, but I guess we will be talking about this again later on the show. We're talking about Dune part 1 and part 2, about that sense of managing to bridge the gap, and ultimately when you see something's narrative and its structure, does it work as a part 1 and part 2? I thought Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning part 1 did that quite well. It's self-contained, but it's also building to the future. I'm not going to let myself go down because I'll only get angry with both of you when you're like, yeah, it's all right. I really liked it. I do have a bit of a...
3.5 as well.
Yeah.
Kids.
Listen, you can't kill Rebecca Ferguson and expect me to care about the rest of the film.
Wow.
You just can't.
Did she die? I'm winking at the Jim.
She said she's not coming back. She didn't like...
A lot of people have said that. Andrew
She
Garfield's.
actually said she didn't like what they were going to do with Ilsa, and that's why she decided not to come back.
Yeah,
So-
but Andrew Garfield said he wasn't coming back for the last live-action
Well,
Spider-Man
yes,
movie.
that's true, but we all knew that was definitely happening.
Andrew got himself too worked up. Some of the best acting I've ever seen, Andrew. And ultimately as well, I know this is regular listeners to the pod will know that there's a couple out there in Belfast who will be very excited to hear that The Exorcist Deceiver is still happening.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe Jim will have another similar experience.
They'll be able to bring their newborn child.
They will indeed. Go back and listen to the Mrs. Webb episode of the pod to hear all about that. So that mean those are things, feel free to pick up on those if you so wish. Nicole, Adam, anything else caught your attention the last couple of days, movie news-wise?
Just for television news, Fallout television show coming to Amazon. I'm not a Fallout guy when it comes to video games. Bethesda have that sort of, when you walk up to someone and they do like that slow, like, hello there, here's a quest, goodbye, sort of thing. I hate that shit. But this has Kyle MacLachlan, Walton Goggins, Matt Berry. Sure, what else would I want on a TV show? It looks good though. Made by the other Nolan, Jonathan.
Oh, I like him.
So maybe, high hopes.
Yeah, him and Chris need to get back together again.
He's the Westworld one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He does the good shit. He's my Nolan of the two.
Well, Chris is still my Nolan, but I think Chris and Jonathan, when they work together,
Yes.
you kind of see that. I think they get the best out of each other.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of need that, but obviously we're saying this after all the huge success at the Oscars that Oppenheimer has had. So who are we? Who are we to judge? Us mere little bloggers.
I will still judge.
That's all right. You have your cards clearly marked. So anything else before we move on?
It's funny that the two Nolan brothers are really famous, but no one really mentions the Nolan sisters anymore.
Do you think? It's a shame they didn't get to go to the Oscars.
It is.
They don't get.
You were going.
No, they don't get the credit for the work they did on Oppenheimer.
She came off loose women and never seen again. She's retired.
Yeah,
Colleen.
It's
She's
a
still
shame.
alive.
I hope so.
I'm not looking it up.
She is.
She is? Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
Nicole knows. She knows these things. Right.
Unfortunately, I do.
So well, look, I mean, that's just general things that's caught my attention movie news wise. Of course, we are talking about the Oscars, which haven't happened for us, but will have happened by the time this pod's out. Another thing that's happening, or has happened this weekend, I should say, is Dublin Comic Con, the spring edition. I don't know if either of you are big con goers. I know we have the Belfast one later this year, though the Belfast one's technically in Lisburn, but hey, let's not fight over small hairs. But one person that was there was Joanne Alexander, cosplayer. People might know her. She's been a regular on the pod. She's also been on the TV show. She is very filthy minded. I haven't heard what she has said about her experience at DCC yet as we go to record, but nevertheless, I asked Joanne to send me a little report of her experience of 2 days in Dublin.
Hi Jim, it's Joanne, aka Head Scout, and I'm reporting on Dublin Comic Con Spring Edition, which I got home from late last night from. Gosh, I'm tired today. It was a really, really busy weekend. Now, apparently it didn't completely sell out on Sunday, but you wouldn't have thought that by the amount of people that were about. I was exhibiting over the weekend with the Eye of Harmony and the Cosmos cosplay groups. We've been there now the last couple of years, showing off our props and generally talking nerd to the public. We have anything from Doctor Who, which we've quite a lot of actually now, Ghostbusters, Steampunk and Harry Potter. And speaking of Ghostbusters, I actually debuted my new Gozer costume, which has been driving me mad for weeks, actually trying to finish on time. I, of course, went down and tortured Ghostbusters Ireland because they're not gods and I had to get rid of them. On Saturday afternoon, it was quite busy that day when it came to torturing. Amanda and I decided that we would storm the bridge alongside our fellow Klingon, Anthony. There's a cracking bridge there, actually, that's run by the USS Cuchulainn. So full-size captain's chair, proper bridge, switchies, lots of noise. And the crew kindly agreed to us storming the bridge. And lucky enough, they surrendered, which was probably just as well for them because the Klingons don't really take prisoners. We also caught up with our friends in the 501st and Rebel Legion Ireland and had a blatter around with the GCPD real icons. Great stand there too. The guests this year were from BSG, One Piece and Baldur's Gate. Lots of actual voiceover artists, which I must admit I didn't really know. One I did recognise, though, was John DiMaggio, who's Bender from Futurama, and quite a few of my friends had got his signature too. I think he was good crack. Yeah, so all in, always worthwhile going to Dublin Comic Con. The next one is in August, about third week in August. Definitely worthwhile checking that out. And of course, come and see us in the Eye of Harmony stand. We're usually up on the third floor, so we'd really like to catch up with you. Come talk crap. It's always good. Thanks, Jim. I'm way back to bed. Need a sleep or a coffee or something. Bye.
So that's Joanne talking about DCC, and it'll be back later in the year. Either of you big con goers excited about the Belfast Comic Con later in the year?
Yeah, I went last year. It was the first one that I've been to in quite a while, but it kind of sparked me wanting to go to more. So
how much money did you spend?
I actually didn't spend very much. Although, Jim, I was looking through, the way they have the signed posters of things, and I was looking through and I found a Sharon Stone one. I was so tempted. So tempted, but it was £65 and I just didn't feel like that.
Now, if Sharon's listening,
I've already bought her book signed, so I don't need that many signed things.
No, when you got, I can't remember, we talked about this. When you got it signed, did you get her to sign it? Were you there, or did you just buy a signed copy?
No, I bought a signed copy off eBay because Waterstones did it. And then somebody sold it, so
it's not like personally.
No,
Nicole.
Unfortunately not. Do you think I would still be here if she personally signed it for me?
Yes, for listeners who don't know, Nicole, on previous episodes of this pod, has confessed to having a little bit of a crush on Sharon. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I doubt anybody would argue with that.
Definitely not. I mean, I was a teenage boy when Basic Instinct was coming out, and there was Sliver, and then there was Basic Instinct 2 with Stan Collymore. Woof. Jesus, boy.
I actually really enjoyed Basic Instinct too.
So do I. It's a bad film, but it's
awful.
It's I get a sense we might be talking later similar things because, hey, it's 3 weeks and we're probably still going to be talking about old Mrs. Webb because you're busting it. Everybody comes into this podcast studio and they're like, what do you want to talk about? What have you been watching? Have you seen Mrs. Webb? Well, Madam Webb, but we're just calling it, well, Adam has dubbed it Mrs. Webb. And it's like, all right, for fuck's sake, we'll talk about it again. God help her. Her mother died in Peru. Anyway, so that's DCC. Adam, are you excited about? I mean, either of you been to the Dublin Comic Con before? No, I've been a couple of times. I mean, it is, I guess, from what I had seen, I've been to a couple of the con, like the Showmasters cons that were here. There was, I can't remember the other company that was here for a while. There's QCon as well, which is going to be happening again later in the year. I've never been to it. I know it's much more kind of cosplay orientated. The big cons are much more about, here's our big guests, and come and pay money to pay the privilege to come in to see them talk, and also pay more money to get their autographs, or not if you're Nicole and you see that lovely little picture of Sharon Stone. But are you excited, Adam, about the con? Dublin. Any con generally. Your own con you could be having at your house.
I was actually going to go to, I think it was Liverpool. Yeah, it was Liverpool in May because Kevin Smith is going to be there. And then checked my bank account and went, Kevin, I'll meet you. I'll see you some other time. So maybe
Kevin, if you're listening,
come on in.
Yeah, come on in. Come to Adam's own Comic Con at his house.
Yeah. There's somebody coming.
Adam Con.
I'll make you stew. There's somebody coming in September. Oh, Giancarlo Esposito is coming to Belfast. So fingers crossed he still
actually makes it.
I'm excited about Charisma Carpenter from Buffy is coming. I'm very excited about that.
What a name, Charisma Carpenter.
It's fantastic.
I think I'm going to try and get down to it this year because I didn't go. I mean, it's literally, I can roll out of bed and be at the con in 2 minutes from where I live in Lisburn, and I didn't go last year. I can't remember why we didn't go. I think there was a few bits and bobs were just happening around that time, but I'm hoping to. And Joanne definitely seems to have had a good time at DCC, and I know if she was here, she would be talking about the Enniskillen Con that's happening. I think off the top of my head, I think it's around June. It's much more kind of 2000 AD orientated. Great con. I've been to a couple of times. Apologies if I am getting the dates wrong, but we will throw it up on the website, and I'm sure we'll be showcasing it closer to the time. Another thing that's happening throughout the month of March is Cinemagic's On the Pulse Festival, and the lovely Claire Shaw from that festival reached out to us to showcase some of the events that are coming up.
So the Cinemagic on the Pulse Festival is up and running. It's now in its 6th year, and the aim of it is really to celebrate the shorts genre. So we have a big focus on next generation filmmaking talent, with the showcase of films made by young people from Northern Ireland and Ireland, across animation, documentary and live action, and that's happening at the QFT on the 24th of March, and alongside that showcase there are workshops for aspiring directors, and focusing in on those areas of live action, of drama. We've got Paddy Brethnack doing a directing workshop for us, who is known for the highly acclaimed film Rosie, and also the drama The Dry. So he'll be in doing a workshop. We also have Jerome Jaspart hosting an animation workshop for animation filmmakers. And then for those that are interested particularly in documentary, we have the amazing director Daniel Gordon visiting Cinemagic, and he is known for Hillsborough and many sports related and sort of social political documentaries, so that's specifically on the documentary genre over the 24th of March. And then for those budding broadcast media professionals, we are delighted to host Gemma Bradley and Dean McCullough, both Northern Ireland talent, and they are coming along on the 23rd and 24th to host specific radio broadcasting workshops. Gemma focusing in on music, of course, and talking about her career at BBC Radio Ulster and BBC Radio 1. And then Dean, who is from Northern Ireland, as I say, as well, who is the current host of the afternoon show on BBC Radio 1. And Dean, again, a young person himself, so hopefully that'll be really inspiring for those young people, you know, who are sort of 16, 17, 18, right up to mid-20s, who are establishing careers in the media industry. And then alongside the practical workshops, we have a host of films, world cinema, opportunities for young film critics to view films that haven't been screened here before, some beautiful packages of animations and dramas from right across the world, and a real chance to debate and discuss the merits and critique those as well. We also have a brilliant dance TikTok workshop with Misha Garbett, and we have a celebration of Cartoon Saloon on screen on St. Patrick's Day, with the brilliant animation Wolf Walkers, and then a series of short films all by Cartoon Saloon. So all of those amazing short films, many of which have received different awards and nominations over the years, but a brilliant way for young people to immerse themselves in film, looking at those short films and seeing how short films are produced and made. There is also a brilliant focus on Quentin Blake and the new animated series Box of Treasures. So there's 2 episodes of Box of Treasures being screened, and then the producer is coming along, Tess Cumming, who is going to talk about how that whole series was greenlit, from really script to screen. But again, a brilliant way for those interested in getting into the media and film industry, specifically in relation to animation, to find out about that process and everything that's involved in animation filmmaking. And everything can be viewed at cinemagic.org.uk. We are running on the Pulse right up until the 30th of March. So there's a host of Easter themed film screenings and events as well, and something for all ages. So please do get involved, and I'd really encourage those those that are interested in film and festivals and entertainment to get involved over the next few weeks of March.
So that's Claire talking about some of the On the Pulse Festival. Great festival. I've always bigged up Cinemagic. Check out their programme on their website, I should say, for full details on all of those things that Claire has talked about. But now, Adam, I feel, before we get into Dune, I know a lot of people want to talk about Dune Part 2, but I think more importantly than that, I've dubbed it the feature the nation is talking about, but I think it's time for Back in Black.
What's funny you say about signed books, because I got a book this week that, I'm not saying who it was by, but it was an autobiography that said online that it was signed by this person, and then it turned up and it wasn't signed. And unfortunately, this person might not be with us anymore, so I'll never get it signed. But you know what? Welcome to Back in Cilla Black, the complimentary feature about the Duchess of the Merseyside, Jim and Nicole, where I bring you fun facts about the most ginger woman to be on television. This week, a story from the 70s.
Okay, you're taking us back?
Taking us back to when she was Cilla White. Isn't that fun? But she was actually backstage at a rock concert once.
Right.
Just a small band at the time, but they're pretty big now. Don't know if you know them. Pearl Jam.
I've heard of them. I think they might go far.
And of course, she, bit of a looker, Ursula.
She's a good-looking girl.
She is.
If you only have to look on TikTok to see those videos of her knocking about.
Exactly. You got them teeth.
She wouldn't have needed to go to the Devonish to get her kicks.
Absolutely not. She would have had all those boys bone dry. I actually watched the video of Cilla Black this. No, I'll come back to it. I'm in my feature.
Yeah.
So she was in the concert, and they were like, "Come on backstage because you're gorgeous." And she came back to that thing, and
different time, Adam.
I know, and she was like, "All right, lovely," right? And she actually,
like she was in the room.
And who's the lead singer of Pearl Jam?
I don't know.
Not emotion.
Steve from Pearl Jam, don't need to fact check that. The lead singer of Pearl Jam was actually like, "Oh, she's gorgeous," but she had her back turned, and he went, "Cilla," and she turned around and she fell over a load of amps, right? But she fell over, and her arse was just in his view, and in that moment he thought, "I'm gonna write a song about this moment." So he wrote the song "Super Massive Cilla Black's Hole." Yeah, so I was watching TikTok and seen there was an episode of Blind Date where there was a journalist from Vogue, was it?
The Sun, is it not?
Something like that.
Very famous episode.
Yeah, it was really good.
Cilla turned nasty very quickly.
It was wild. It was like they went on a date, like this man and woman, and then they're like, "Oh, did you enjoy it?" And the guy's like, "You know what? I think we'll probably just be friends." And then she goes, "You know what?" Say Barbara. "You know what, Barbara? We know that you're not actually a receptionist." And the girl's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And then she goes, "You're actually a journalist from the Sun." And everybody in the audience is like, "Boo!"
Times haven't changed.
And the guy's like, "Are you serious, Cilla?"
Are you serious? It changes everything. Oh well. I've seen that video. Yeah.
So I do my research.
Yeah, certain listeners who well, it's good that they listen.
Yeah,
but they do question. I mean, just for that Pearl Jam trivia with Cilla, which was tenuous for movies, but we'll allow it. How much research?
Well, it would have been 7 whole days.
That's good. There we go. That's 4 weeks. I think that feature is coming on strong.
Wait till next week.
Well, we're actually having a break. We'll come to that to the end. We're going to have to wait a week for some Cilla Black facts, because you're going to have Joe and I talking about The Abyss, which was an episode that we recorded before the Christmas special with you that I'm finally getting round to editing and releasing. But we'll come back to that at the end. So that's that. So I think what we'll do, most people are here. They haven't already checked out after, our chat so far. Most people are here for Dune Part 2. So before we get chatting about the film, and we will talk, I guess, we will talk spoilerifically, but we'll avoid, I think, going into too many specific spoilers. I know that's a promise I'll probably let down people very quickly. But before we do, I think we will play a clip.
May thy knife chip and shatter. May thy knife chip and shatter.
Good clip for an audio medium, I must say. But we have...
that was from the Devonish, wasn't it?
We have Willy Wonka and Space Elvis going toe to toe. So this is Dune Part 2, the follow-up to Dune Part 1, unsurprisingly. I know in the TV show I couldn't remember, was it 2001 that was out? No, 2021.
Yeah.
2021, I should clarify. That the first part was out, and I know at various attempts I missed the opportunity to see that on the big screen. Finally did, and went and did Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2. Dune Part 1 for day before, and then Dune Part 2 the day it was released. So we're going to be talking about that. I guess it's unavoidable that we'll talk a little bit about Dune Part 1. Nicole, the reason why I asked you on was when we had you on the telly show, we were talking a little bit about Dune at the time, and you were telling me afterwards you've been reading the book, and I seen a couple of days ago a very excited exclamation on Twitter /X/ that service that lets you know when Facebook and Instagram isn't working. We look to X to see what's going on with Facebook. But you have finally completed the book.
I have. It felt like I was reading it for years. Turns out it was about a week, maybe 9 days-ish, but it was a long 9 days.
I dream of spice.
I do now too. I can't get it out of my head. I didn't even like the book that much, but I'm obsessed.
Jim was doing his impression of Danny Trejo for the old Peso ads.
If you're listening, I'll take anything. So, yeah, you finally completed the book. So I will hold my hand up at this point and say I've never read the source material, Frank Herbert. I've never read the source material of the book. I've seen the original Lynch movie. I know it's flawed. There's the Children of Dune, which I think is on Prime. I do remember watching that, which I think is kind of loosely adapted from Messiah, I think, or kind of takes it. So I guess we will be talking a little bit about that. I'm a bit like, bringing it back full circle almost, the way you guys react about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a little bit about how I react to Dune Part 1. I thought it was a great film, but it was like ultimately, it's like, really, what has happened? And then when you get to Dune Part 2, it's like, okay, boom, I can understand now exactly why you've done the separation. It makes sense, because I think Joe McElroy and I were talking about this after the most recent TV show when we're talking about Dune as well. No spoilers there. But we were kind of saying, it's like when you notice in the Lynch film, as flawed as it is, it's like, is it nearly like an hour and a half, or a good chunk of that is Dune Part 1. And then it's like half an hour, 40 minutes they have to rush through. So that's the flaw. So I'll say from the get-go, wasn't as mad as some about Dune Part 1. Still think it was very impressive visually, score, performances, but it just, there's other people who are kind of going, this is just the best thing I've ever seen in the entire world. It's like, it's not Dead Reckoning Part 1, all right? Calm down. But Dune Part 2, just, I said it on the TV show, just sets the benchmark for me how to do a sequel. I know it's kind of not really a sequel, it's just the second part of, it is a sequel, but it's not. We'll not go down that kind of argument, but sets the benchmark for me for what, when you give a filmmaker, a studio, what to do with big screen spectacle, character development, character arcs, performances, CGI. We've, in the last couple of years, seen so many big budget films with shoddy special effects. You don't get that with old space worms here. But anyway, look, that's me rambling a little bit. Really impressed with it. I know there's things we're going to spoilerifically talk about, that idea of, that's from the source material as opposed to the Villeneuve's film, about that idea of the hero's journey and how it plays with our expectations on that. It's like the equivalent of watching the original Star Wars movies and getting to Return of the Jedi and watching Luke fall to the dark side and just be like, here, no bother, da. Right, Emperor, come on, big lad. That's the thing I think is impressed with me the most, the fact they didn't change that source. I didn't think they would. But anyway, I'm rambling. Nicole, I'll come to you first. You've seen, if I heard you right, you've seen this twice already.
Yes.
So,
I saw it the day after it opened.
Now, can I clarify? Because not to throw shade on the lovely Adam Neeson.
He always does.
But was this a case of you watched Dune Part 2? I'm like, did I like that? Did I like it? I gotta go back and watch that, and then maybe I'll watch Joker for the second time and see if I like it.
I have only seen Joker once, and I refuse to ever watch it again.
See,
I hate
Adam,
it.
that's what you do.
See, you never know. You might watch the second time and be like, this is still shit.
I see. I already know that's going to be my reaction.
So did I, but I
choose not to watch
did
it.
about 5 more times and still hated
Oh
it.
God! What? I see. I didn't want to give them my money.
Well,
To be honest.
I actually financed the second one. Out of begrudgment.
He's got a producer credit.
I
Ooh.
I liked Dune a lot. I actually didn't finish the book until the day after
Okay.
I saw Dune Part 2. So I wanted to see it again, knowing exactly how the book finishes.
Are you glad you didn't finish the book before seeing Dune Part 2 for that final act or final
yes.
moments, we should say?
Yes, because for the first, like, hour and a half or so, I was like, that's different than the book. That's not the same. This line is
That's
from the book, but
suspicious.
that's different. Literally. I kept leaning over to my friend that hasn't read the book and isn't super fussed on Dune and being like, that's not how that happens in the book. I was that annoying.
Oh, I'd hate to be with you. We're never going to cinema, Nicole. Never going to cinema together.
I think it was only because the book was so fresh in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were so many things that I thought that the movie did better. So it wasn't necessarily a
Space
problem.
Worms? Is that one on?
Love the Space Worms. Love the Space Worms so much. They're terrifying. But yeah, I came out of it. I liked it a lot, but I immediately felt like I needed to see it again to fully figure out exactly where it fell for me.
Just to clarify, so you didn't do, and the only time I can remember ever doing this in the history of cinema, well, maybe Jurassic Park, possibly, when I was a lot younger. But I remember going to see Whiplash. Now, Whiplash was a very different thing. It was like, I fucking love Whiplash. It was like, just came out of it. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go back and see that again. Literally, that's the only time I've ever been like, come out of the film and went like, you know what? Ticket for, what's the next screen? Whiplash? 10 minutes? Yeah, I'm in. Just to clarify, that wasn't 6 hours all in one slog at the cinema?
No, it was, 3 days later.
Okay.
I've never done that, actually.
But that was a special day. But Whiplash is a pretty fantastic film. So you went to see it twice already. Adam, many times you seen Dune Part 2?
Just the once.
Just the once. And what do you think?
Pretty good.
That's going on the trailer. That's going on the poster. Dune Part 2. Adam Neeson, Bannerflix. That's pretty good.
I kind of dreaded going to see it, even though I was looking forward to it, because I knew
Like you were sitting behind Nicole. She's like, would you fuck up? Stop talking.
Don't care about the book. Just because I knew it was going to be so long, and I'd watched the first Dune the night before, and I was like, another 3-hour movie.
Can I just clarify, just to butt in? My lovely wife and I, as I said, we went to see it. I wish I'd got the soundbite this week again, but when we went to see Dune Part 1, she didn't go to see Dune Part 2, I will clarify with me. But she was like, how long was that movie? And she's like, oh, just under like 2.5, just under 2 hours, 45 minutes, Part 1, I should say. And she's like, well, that's 14 hours of my life. I'm not getting back. You're like, trying to figure out the Maz, like Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover. Is like trying to figure it out. But yeah, she did not like the Part 1. She thought it was a slow movie. And Dune Part 1 is a slow movie. I think knowingly and purposely slow, in the sense of just when you realise just how far it's actually getting into the source, how little it's really getting into the source material. It's really only introducing you to Arrakis. That's it. But apologies, I jumped in across. You were saying about how much you loved it.
Yeah, like I always said that Dune Part 1 was kind of like the Fellowship of the Ring. Like, not as good as the Fellowship of the Ring, but like, give me the same sort of like, here's a world you've never seen before. And it's very rare, being as old as we are, where you get a new world to be like, oh, these are interesting. When you see the bombs slowly fall into the shield, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But then seeing Part 2 was kind of like watching Return of the King and Frodo being like, you know what, I will keep the ring. And I was like, oh no. Really good stuff. Denis Villeneuve, is that how
he's going to go far.
He's a good pup. He really, I think between 1 and 2, because 1 kind of feels grey, even when they get to Arrakis, where 2 purposely feels orange.
Although apart from the moments in Part 1 where you're sitting watching and it's all dark, and then the next minute cuts to sand, you're like, fuck! Fuck! Oh, I'm blinded! Sorry.
But when he gets to the part with Austin Butler and the whole arena fight that's all
Space
in black and
Elvis.
white, it's gorgeous. And then towards the end, when you've everything coming down and they're fighting with the sun setting behind them. It did remind me a lot of his Blade Runner, you know, all of the sets. But part 2, obviously more to it, but with Paul, like I've never read the book, but with Paul in the first one, he's more of a guy just sort of going through the motions because it's just that one day, really. Whereas part 2 is like everybody telling him, you know, you're the Messiah. And he's like, I just want to be a normal man. And then at the end...
He's not the Messiah, he's just a naughty boy!
Fucking, he takes a shape in his spacesuit and Javier Bardem was like, he's Jesus. I did laugh every time Javier Bardem was like, he's done it. He's the best man that's ever lived.
As is written.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes.
I wanted like a wall mural of like Paul playing like tic-tac-toe. Feel like he's the best there is. But yeah, fun movie. I don't like, whenever it kind of ended and it was like, now time for the Holy War, I was like, don't know if I would watch Messiah, but I don't know if I'm like busting for part 3, maybe in like 5 years. But there's people in this that I didn't know were going to turn up that I'm interested to see in a third one without spoiling it.
Yeah, I mean, I know we'll not talk too much, but I mean, we have some new cast members. We've got the likes of the lovely Florence Pugh. We have Christopher Walken just basically rocking up and just being Christopher Walken in space. And that's a good thing. And I would have loved a bit more of Austin Butler. I would love, I mean, it is probably purposely a small role, but I would love a little bit more. I think I have, if ever there's an actor right now, I'm kind of like, I'm interested in what he does. I mean, I do think, who picked up the Oscar last year for Best Actor? I'm trying to think off the top of my head, because we had this problem last time. It wasn't Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No.
It was, because they won Best Supporting and Best Support in the actor and actress categories. But Austin Butler, the more I've seen Elvis, I think he should have. I've watched it a couple of times actually in the last year. He should have, for that performance in that film, he should have. I really thought you were looking at me as if to go, I've got it here, Jim.
Oh, well, it's
Brendan
Fraser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nicole just reminded it was Brendan Fraser for the whale. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, because that was a really good role.
That was a joyous romp of a movie.
He actually plays the Baron in Dune Part 2.
Yeah, they actually modelled the suit on him. I liked it, and I do. I guess it's the things I probably like of it from the cinematic point of view. Denis Villeneuve, he knows what he's doing with special effects. I mean, okay, maybe I'd love to see what Roger Deakins would have done with the visuals, but I think the cinematographer, whose name went out of my head, I think does a pretty fantastic job. Hans Zimmer score, when his hands ever not be? It's that sense of you're allowed to go bombastic again, Hans. Like that's when we love Hans at the most. And I come back to that point in terms of the actual CGI on screen. It's stunning, and it just shows you what I imagine is the care and the clear idea from ground up, the image and what they wanted. They didn't rush it. They didn't push through and rush everything. When you compare this, and I think on the TV show, whether it made the cut, I made the comparison to like something like Jurassic World Dominion, where there's special effects. It looks like it's been made with cardboard and they're just holding it in front of the screen. Fab film, great. I mean, neither of you had read the book, and I guess, well, neither of you had completed the book, I should clarify, before the end of Dune Part 2. And I know Robert Robinson was on the show. It was Joe was said on the show that there was a couple behind him completely left infuriated by the film's ending and what it decides to do. And our hero, Paul.
Big Paul.
It's that sense of, the hero's journey, twisting that, and what if our hero is our villain or will become our villain. Interesting things. I thought this was a really impressive feature. I don't want to spoil too much because it's just out, and it's not like Madam Web where it's terrible and we're going to save you the price of your cinema ticket. But at this stage, we've mentioned some of the new cast members. I've talked about visual effects. Pardon me as I burp. Very professional. Visual effects, score. Anything else you want to talk about at this stage?
Haven't seen it twice. The standout for me is Zendaya as Chani. I think I am gonna be annoying and keep being like, in the book, blah blah blah, but that character doesn't get a lot to do in the book, and I think the way that they flesh her out in the movie and the character arc that she gets, and where she goes at the end, is just really really good. And I loved her. I just really loved her. I loved her reaction to things, and
you're heartbroken by the time the film reaches finale.
Yeah, not to spoil things, but the particular bit where it's Princess Irulan, Paul, and then Chani, I just thought was fantastic. I love that entire sequence.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Stunning. Adam?
There's a bit in the movie where Josh Brolin comes back, and at that point it kind of feels like there's a quick half an hour of him just being rushed. Not to like knock the movie, but like there's a bit where somebody's like, how can you trust him? He's an outsider. And Paul's like, he's family. And I was like,
family. All right, Vin.
And then, because, well, I don't really want to spoil it, but Josh Brolin kind of shows that his military expertise could be of value to the Fremen. Martin Freeman.
Just a nation of Martin Freemans.
That is my worst nightmare. Please don't put that into my head.
All dressed as a hobbit.
And then,
one of them is Arthur Dent.
Grab your towel. And then there's also a bit that I laughed at during the movie when it cut to the Colosseum fighting bit, and the CGI on the crowd is a wee bit not great. But then in my head, I just pictured. Do you remember like the old FIFA games?
I thought you were gonna hark back to the Ted Lasso opening.
Oh, yeah. But like the FIFA games with the crowd of people will be like.
But if that is your only niggle in terms of special, and I will say, coming back to Space Worms, because we kind of saw them. Well, I know we did see them right near the end of the first film. They were teased for so much of that. And I guess maybe that's purposely so, in the same way that Peter Jackson did with Gollum, with Return of the King. We see that one sequence. Sorry, apologies, not Return of the King. In The Fellowship, we see that one sequence of just the eyes, and you look back at it now and like, it looks terrible. And then you see how far it came along for the Two Towers. And then more importantly, although I don't love the Hobbit movies, you see how far it's come even when he has Gollum appear in the first Hobbit movie, Unexpected Journey. Yes. When you see him in that, you just see, wow, how far that's come on. So, yeah, if your niggle is some of the crowd shots, reminds me of FIFA, that's not a bad thing.
No.
Get the controller out.
If you compare it to in Quantumania, whenever you see all of the Jonathan Majors,
yeah.
Yeah, I think Dune wins.
I would have liked to have seen the blue-faced Jonathan Majors would have liked to have seen him.
I heard that Marvel already looking to see can they just replace them a lot with Christopher Plumbers.
Oh,
that's who that's how far special effects. They've been in touch with Ridley Scott to say, look, you did this with Kevin Spacey. Can we go back? All of the previous Kang appearances and all the MCU, all the stock footage you have, Christopher Plummer. I'd love to see that.
I also laughed when Austin Butler had to put his hand in Léa Seydoux' box because in my head I went tee.
I did too.
Yeah, and Léa Seydoux. There's another. Again, you'd love to see more, but I guess that's the confines of you have. And I know we're going to move on, but for a film that's 10-15 minutes longer than Dune Part 1, I felt that the pacing this time round was much better. I didn't feel like in Dune Part 1 there is sequences where I'm like subtly doing the old, what time's it? And then you're doing like the Maz. How long's left? Many trailers, many adverts for cars. Fuck that advert, fat annoying bastard coming to the Omniplex cinema. Fuck's sake, wee lad. And you're like, all right, kid, there's about half an hour left. I don't think I looked at my clock once. Just to clarify for any listeners hard of hearing, I said clock.
Also, Jim likes to carry a grandfather clock into the cinema.
Yeah, that's what I do. But no, I mean, I know we're going to move on, but pacing wise, I thought this, in terms of, I guess it's because it's more action heavy, you will get away with that. The fact that part one is setting things up, you're always going to have, it's going to appear slower. But I don't know, for you, do you have any you think it felt longer? I know it is longer.
I don't know. I just felt like they handled the training of Paul becoming a great. It's Fremen. Fremen. Thank you.
But you would have preferred a Rocky montage with the South Park music.
They handled that well. It didn't feel like he would train for a day and then he's like, "Now I can ride a worm." The worm sequence, incredible. Would love to see it in 40X. I think it would break my back.
Too much. Too much. It's like when Joe McElroy was talking about how disappointed he didn't get to see the last Fast and the Furious movie in 40X. Like, mate, I think all your senses would explode.
Sure, I told you I hadn't seen Bullet Train and almost fell out of the chair.
Yeah, and that's Bullet Train. So imagine what it'd be with Fast X or this.
I like Paul's effect on the world and religion, and then also sort of, Denny's kind of having a bit of the book's old, but he's putting some recent political, religious conflicts.
Here in Northern Ireland, we have no idea what you're talking about.
Paul Atreides is actually in the right.
You heard it here first. And I know you've kind of answered this already. You were kind of saying like you wouldn't mind seeing a Dune Part 3 maybe in 5-6 years. I get a sense that might happen sooner. I guess it all depends on box office, but I think it looks at this stage, I mean, it seems to have done the initial numbers you're looking at. Nicole, for you excited for Dune Part 3?
I've heard that Dune Messiah is shit. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to what Denis could do with it, because I actually think that he streamlines the book really well.
Denis can.
He apparently he is writing the script at the minute. So
it's going to be 2 hours of it just off silence because he doesn't like dialogue. That's what it's going to be. Just 2 lines. It's going to be amazing.
I am interested. I've heard that Paul in Dune Messiah speaks quite favorably of Hitler. And I would be interested to see if we keep that line or not, because there are some people that still haven't quite figured out that Paul's a villain.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that would help them.
I think it's that sense that I get, as I mentioned, why Joe can understand. This is the character. It's clever in that sense. This is the character that we're looking at is supposedly our hero, and it's like, oh, maybe he's not our hero. It's like eventually, hopefully all the Trump fans will eventually find out, but hey, let's not venture. Slugger O'Toole and the likes of that is where we leave the politics. But yeah, I think, I'm kind of excited about this. I'm well sorry to bother you, lads, but Jim Pesci had said you'd put a request in for a wee meat parcel for the weekend. And I was just passing on my way home and thought I'd drop it into you. I hope it's not a bad time. I can see you're in the middle of doing that old podcast thing. God, my timing is terrible. Marty, come on in. We're all friends here. Oh, you're all here, the lads. Jesus, not all lads this time. Hi, last time it was a bit of a sausage party. No, me being the old butcher, I know all about meat. You've got a cutty in with you as well. What about you, Adam? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. This is every week, Marty. It's become a bit of a feature.
Well, here, hang on a minute there, Jim. Let me just get the old meat parcel down there. So there you go. What about you, lads? As always, wee bit angry. It's been a busy couple of days.
What's happening, Marty? Tell us.
What can I say?
Also, do you want to introduce yourself to the code?
There's
a lady in the room.
Apologies, I'm being very rude. This is Dr. Nicole Hamilton. She's a regular on the TV show. We thought we'd get her on to the pod. You're a doctor. Well, Joe, I have to say, Nicole, could you have a look at my foot here? Because I have been phoning the GP surgery for weeks and none of them bastards will pick up. Could you have a look at my toe now?
Unfortunately, I'm not the helpful kind of doctor.
Oh, no.
So.
And now, Nicole, I know you might be getting confused. This isn't the Martin Scorsese. They look quite similar. It's not. They look quite similar.
Well, you know what? Like, I don't feel that every week I should be having to repeat myself because, Nicole, I'll just tell you now. See, so the Scorseses are famously from Fermanagh, right? And from kind of Lisbon. And some of the cousins left and went further afield. And some of them were talented, you know, because I was sitting there in the back of the butchers the other day, and Bobby D and wee Pesci, they're all getting excited. Because those we were sitting here tonight, they're all getting ready to get back to the shop. Because we're going to sit and watch the Oscars. Want to see if the wee cousin, you know, if he takes him. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he'll win.
Hasn't got it on him.
No, look, I fell asleep. I was thinking, Jesus, I could be spending my time making sausages as opposed to that film. 3 hours, fuck's sake, no, thank you. But, you know, we're going to see how the wee lad gets on. And, well, you know, it's been a bad week. It's been an upsetting week. You know, Adam, you know, I've a wee thing for a wee Shazzy.
Well, it's very well documented that you are 2 star-crossed lovers.
Yes, and I've heard now, you know, after all them wee freebies, the wee bit of meat's underneath the counter and stuff, and, you know, she's had my sausage, you know what I mean? But I think she's maybe getting married.
I said, hear this, I've seen it on TikTok.
And, well, you know, if it's on TikTok, you know, it's going to be true. But anyway, I'm very upset about that. You know, Shazzy Shankle, you know, I still love you, big girl. I still love you. But anyway, it's been one of them days, and Marty, you know, it's all right. You don't have to rush. Like, but Lodge, I've just, you know, today I was sitting in the shop and wee Timothy was running around the booking place dressed up as that Willy Wanker again. It's like, for fuck's sake, I thought last week when you were at Glasgow, you'd had enough of that. I was asking Bobby D, what's the wee lad dressed up for? Is he out for that old World Book Day? She's like, no, apparently he's doing a sequel.
Oh, is he?
What do I know? I'm just a film-loving butcher. You know, great prices in Castle Street. And also, you'll always get my thoughts on what the latest releases are. But, you know, lads, I don't like keeping you too much. Marty, it's fine. It is absolutely fine having you here. But
Marty, did you get watching Lisa Frankenstein?
No, I haven't watched it yet. Me and Bobby D were talking about it, and he says, well, like Frankenhooker. Jesus, this is like an artsy-fartsy Frankenhooker. And Jim, I better be going, because, you know, I can't leave Pesci in front of the shop. Can't reach the till, the wee lad. Can't reach till all them bastards coming in, walking and everything. And, you know, that old fucking Tom Hanks, big bastard, coming in. And, you know, all he can say is fucking hot chocolate these days. Never been the same since that old accident in the Polar Express. You know what, Marty? I'll walk you out here. Adam, just play the song there for us while we're going. Marty, why you looking so sad? It's not so bad. I shut up in your face.
See you, Marty.
Bye, Marty.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Lord. I don't know about you, Adam. I feel sorry for old Marty because he's had his heart broke this week.
You know what?
I was all looking up for him after Christmas.
She's been like Craig David over the last week. A new man every day. So you never know what might happen next week.
Yeah, no, that's what I can say. So I think, you know, that's us kind of talking about that. So, look, we've talked a bit about Dune. Marty's away now, unfortunately. Hopefully, if I know Marty, I'll say I'll be back. You know, he'll find various ways to interrupt the podcast recording, you know. But, you know, he means well. He's bringing me up the meat. So I'll not. So thank you very much, Marty. Marty's meat, affordable meat at good prices.
If you go down to Castle Street and there isn't a butcher's called Marty's Meats, just any old butcher's on Castle Street.
Yeah, any of them will do. Just ask, is Marty, Bobby D and Pesci in the back?
Is Joey Pesci there?
Yeah. But anyway, I think with that, Adam, we'll move on and get to the near end of this week's pod and have a general look at what we've been watching. So, Adam, it's jingle time.
It's the big watch with... Keep all this in.
Yeah.
Watch it on the big screen or maybe the small. We have seen it all. It's what you've been watching. Ding!
I love the fact that jingle seems to have been nailed now for you.
Yeah.
But you're still playing about with our movie news one.
Because movie news is such a
vast topic.
A vast topic that, you know, we see next week.
Okay.
If 2 weeks, I'll have a week off. I'll definitely be making something.
Wait till you hear, listeners. So this is where we open it out and just say, look, generally, we don't want to talk anymore about Dune Part 2. We haven't really talked, I suppose, about Dune Part 1, but generally, what else have you been watching? And this is the key point where we discussed this last week in the show. Adam, how many movies have you watched since we last recorded?
Just 7, Jim, because I started a new job and I've been stressing, so I haven't really been watching movies.
Although that's more than last week.
Is it?
I think last week, did you not say you'd watched 6?
Yeah, in one day.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 6 in one day. Apologies for wrong. So you've watched 7. So we'll come generally to I've watched this week, as we were talking about Dune Part 2. I came home with my lovely wife. We're like, let's watch Tremors. And I forgot, like, 1990 classic Kevin Bacon, Dreamboat. I've forgotten what a really solid creature feature Tremors is. And how it stands visually, yeah, a couple of, like, all those films from that period. It stands the test of time better than others.
Yeah.
I think because so much of it is done with practical effects and kind of camera trickery and perspectives and things like that. But yeah, who doesn't love a bit of Tremors?
I think, especially because, like, back then you had, like, Critters was maybe the thing it was compared to. Also, not getting into the Gremlins side of it, but, you know, small town attacked by creature. Kevin Bacon, I think they struck, is it lightning in a bottle? Is that the phrase? Lightning only strikes 4 times. Yeah.
Hopefully not the same poor bastard in the same spot.
I haven't watched Lisa Frankenstein, I might have. I don't know, like, yeah, like, because they've made, like 7 or 8 of them afterwards, and they aren't good. So it kind of feels like one.
Yeah, it went down after 2. I mean, I watched 2 recently.
No, isn't 3 the one where it's a Western, like back in time?
What?
No, I think that's 4. There is a prequel.
That's not bad, that one.
Because I think 3, there's 2, it's where they have kind of different kind of Gribblies. There's little Gribblies mutations. And then 3, it's like, they do a joke, it's like back to perfection. So, because perfection's the name of the town, and they go back to the original Graboids. I should know, I've watched the fucking film recently. And they go back to that. I think it's 4. There's where it's a prequel, and then there's there's actually more recent ones as well. And there's a TV show that was cancelled. I think wasn't there a pilot Kevin Bacon came back for that sadly didn't go anywhere. But yeah, I genuinely, if no one listening has watched Tremors, 1990, underrated little creature feature. It's on Prime, so well worth a watch. That's one of the movies I've been watching on the small screen. I've been to see One Love, the Bob Marley movie. Recommendation from my colleague. I thought it was fine, but probably, I think, as I said in my letterbox, since you both have mentioned Letterboxd earlier on, I think you could probably look at a VH1 making of documentary about Exodus, and you'll find out more. It's very much like a cinematic Wikipedia entry. I don't know the actor who's playing Bob Marley. He's fine, but I think when you give someone like Lashana Lynch, who I loved in the last Bond movie, and I do love her generally, she's wasted in this, and there's no. It's a bit like the Bohemian Rhapsody. I know that's the obvious comparison, where it's a 12A. You've got a complicated character. It looks at him very much like it kind of hints at his flaws, but doesn't really get into it. But for me, the criminal offence is there's this big concert that even I knew about with Bob Marley, and it's his coming back to Jamaica, and the film cuts. So it's literally him walking up on stage. He walks out. I know this is spoiler territory. He walks out, gets ready to perform, fade to black. Fade to black, and then it's like using real footage of the sequence. And I just find it a little bit like, not my time was wasted, but I didn't know anything more other than it's more interested in the songs than the man. And it's fine. It's perfectly serviceable. I know there's another film that's just coming out shortly last night, or late night. I keep calling it Last Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil, but I'll come back to that in a second. You guys, Nicole, Adam, what else have you been watching?
I watched a really shitty movie on Prime called Tanner Hall.
Okay.
That is meant to be like a coming-of-age drama about a couple of teenage girls. It's got Rooney Mara, Brie Larson, and I can't remember the other girl's name.
Shazzy Shankle.
Georgina King.
Yeah.
But it's terrible. It's really bad. I really
But it's good. Sounds like, good cast.
That's the best thing about it. It was really painful to sit through. It was a lot of 17-year-old girls either getting with or almost getting with fully adult men, and just
why'd you make that noise?
It's on Prime if you want to check it out.
Well, I know when we had you on the TV show recently, we were talking about Bottoms.
Yes.
Not generally Bottoms, but the movie Bottoms, which I thought was absolutely fab. And there is a very different coming of age teenage drama. Yeah. Again, LGBTQ plus queer twist thrown in. Didn't know what to expect. Really enjoyed it. It's on Prime as well.
It is indeed. Big fan of it. It's one that if you like the kind of high school movies but find them a bit maybe stale or just kind of repeating the same tropes, I think the queer stuff makes all of that really fresh and interesting.
And also, if you've ever watched a coming of age high school drama and thought, wouldn't this be great if it just descended into bloody carnage in the finale, then Bottoms is the movie for you.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've first time I watched it, I've actually rewatched it since we did the TV show because it was a sense of just going, I'm just going to put this on. I was working and doing something, and I said, I'll just, a bit like last week we were talking about, I decided to watch Prometheus, just because like we were talking about it in the pod, and then I said, I'm going to watch this while we're doing it. But just put Bottoms on. I think I was looking at the TV show, actually, the episode we had you on. I was like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. Adam, of your 7 movies, hit us with what you've been watching.
Dune, Part 1. Don't really say much about that. It was Sandy. I keep saying that. You know what? Dune Part 1, when I see it in the cinema, I thought it was a bit slow, but rewatching it at home, because in the cinema, I distinctly remember when Paul and his mum are escaping, like on the plane thing. I was like, is this near fucking over? But then watching it at home, I was like, oh no, this actually clips along. So I'm hoping when I see Part 2 again, I'll feel the same.
I think
I
both
was the
movies...
opposite.
Oh,
I was the opposite. I thought it nipped along really quickly when I watched it at home, because regular listeners will know we've had Jimotay made the mistake. I was like, I'm going to hold out for this to be on the IMAX screen. I want to see Dune Part 2, because all the talk, like Nolan, about using IMAX cameras. It's like, right, I'm going to see this. There's an IMAX opening in Belfast. Of course they're going to fucking screen it. They put on West Side Story. And it was like, then we're into Spider-Man and stuff. It's like, okay, at some point they'll throw it on. And they did. And I missed it. So I was like, oh, for fuck it. So that was going to be the only chance I was going to ever. I was going to say, I'm going to watch this for the first time. I'm going to see it on the IMAX screen, when I was going to see it in the cinema, I should say, I was going to see it in the IMAX screen. I watched it. I think it was when it came. I think it was just when it came VOD. I think I bought it on iTunes and watched it. So I thought it was great when I watched it at home. When I watched it in the cinema, it could also be the case I'd been up from 4:00 that morning, and it was an 8:00 screening. And I knew I had to go to work at 4:00 the next day. So maybe it was my tiredness. But I think, as I said earlier on, I did take out the big grandfather clock at a certain point. Like, sorry, is this in your road? Just can't read the what time it is in the dark. Hang on, can you shine your light? Yeah, there we go. Brought a big torch in with me as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I actually had the opposite too. I thought it was slower second time. But I guess that's also since you kind of know where everything's going.
Yeah. After that, me and the missus wanted something light, so we decided on Britney Spears' Crossroads.
Oh, what a film.
Which I didn't realise isn't light at all. Come towards the end of that, we were like, oh no. And then I wanted to go through all of
it. Samantha's a bit of a bitch in that one.
Mamba?
No, well, we'll not go down. We all know if we get in the car and we hear Samantha Mamba playing, just get out, just go in and stay. Us Irish people, we know that.
Body to body. He loved that bag. I wanted to go through all of Elaine May's filmography because it's only 4 movies. Couldn't find a new leaf, so went for her second feature, Mikey and Nikki, which is on YouTube. So yay. But a big 5 stars for that. Fantastic. Peter Falk and John Cassavetes. Mamma mia, what a film. Then Dune Part 2, then a Suicide Squad, not the one I watched last week, but the David Ayer one.
Oh,
I know. Dog shit.
Did you watch it and then feel compelled to go on to social media and go, just release the higher cut?
Well, I said on Letterboxd that, even though there is like an air cut of the movie, there's still,
he says.
Well, there's still the scenes he filmed, and even those are shit. So Doesn't mean.
I know, he keeps releasing things like little stills and stuff. And I think he only does it because he knows that there are about 5 people that go absolutely insane.
Do you know what I am intrigued though? Because I mean, I do like David Ayer as a filmmaker.
You loved Beekeeper.
Yeah, I did. Film of the year. But I'm intrigued though when he talks about that there was another score. That kind of intrigues me because score for me is a big thing. We're talking about Dune Part 2. That score by Zimmer is just amazing. You throw, a couple of pop classics or a couple of tracks, Samantha Mumba when you've got the worm riding sequence. No, it's not the Devonish. It's from Dune Part 2. When you've got all that, it changes the film completely. And I would be interested to see if they were going to do it with an alternative score.
I don't know if you remember whenever before Suicide Squad was coming out, the very first trailer that came out for it, because I am deep in DC lore, so I vividly remember these things. There's 3 trailers that came out, and the first one had a completely different, musical tone to it.
There was no neon lights.
No, nothing. And then you can see in the Warner Brothers logos that it gets brighter and brighter, but the music changes in each trailer as well. And I think at the end, in the 3rd trailer, it was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And so I think you're onto something there, actually, that the music could change it.
Funny, actually, I know, not that I'm going to counter myself. Joe, actually, a film I watched, just when we talk about Suicide Squad, easy for some people to say, I actually watched Bird of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie.
Oh, I watched that a few weeks ago as well.
I think that's such an underrated feature. I mean, you've got that face. It's like the Mission Impossible all over again. But I just think we're coming up to International Women's Day. I think film directed by women, great performances. Mary Elizabeth Winstead can do no wrong in my eyes. She's a lovely lady. And
Ewan McGregor's wife might beg to differ.
Yeah, well, tomato. But I stand by the statement. I was really impressed with that film, and I was surprised that it tanked in the way that it tanked.
Yeah.
Because I think it was off those films that were around, like the Suicide Squad, the first one, not the second one. The second one, I think, is a much superior feature from ground up. It knows what it wants to be. I think Bird of Prey is another film like that. It knows what it wants to be. And that sequence, isn't it? The director of John Wick comes in to kind of who's the second unit on the big action sequence in the prison. In the prison. That's fab. I personally think I would love to, maybe in the future, I'd love to screen Birds of Prey on International Women's Day, because I think it's just kind of underrated in that sense. But anyway, you had that face, Adam.
I don't know. It's so scattershot of a movie for me, with the whole, I don't know, Harley Quinn kind of being a bit of a Deadpool that annoys me a touch. She's like, I love fucking the sandwich. You're like, right.
Some girls just want to have a sandwich.
I know.
That's what I dubbed it. I think when I reviewed it, it's like, just give fucking Harley Quinn a sandwich, would you please?
I kind of wanted, when there's a whole dance sequence where in the thing, I kind of wanted more of that. Maybe more of in Harley Quinn's mind, but then there isn't really any of that. The last act's pretty good with the fight, but then you kind of get to just Black Mask just being full away villain.
Yeah. But I quite like what they did with him and kind of the questions about his sexuality and stuff like that. Just little things that those characters, particularly Harley Quinn, was more fleshed out than what we'd seen her before.
It wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, that's true.
To be honest.
Yeah, just go watch the Harley Quinn cartoon. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Then I watched RoboDoc, the creation of RoboCop, which is like 4.5 hours on Amazon now.
Is that on Prime or
Prime? Yeah, really fun documentary. Peter Weller. It's rare to get an actor. Actually, Robert Englund documentary I watched a few weeks ago. He's one of those actors that clearly loves Nightmare on Elm Street, and Peter Weller clearly loves RoboCop as well. So it's nice to see actors talk positively about a role rather than being like, I was in this movie in the 80s. Well, sheesh. But everybody seemed to be, all about talking about RoboCop. And
funny that when it's a documentary about RoboCop.
They don't mention RoboCop 2. It's weird.
I like RoboCop 2.
So do I. RoboCop 3.
RoboCop 3 is the shit one.
Yeah.
And then those weird TV movies that kind of happened.
How many are there?
So there's 3 RoboCop movies. There's the remake, which again I don't think's that bad. It's watered down. It's trying to do the Iron Man thing in the age of Marvel, and I think there's like maybe 3 or 4, maybe more, like straight to DVD. Maybe not even that. I think they were straight to TV movies. It was like they were very pantomime, and there was like an evil RoboCop in it.
I seen them in HMV last week for a tenner. Get them on Blu-ray. Treat yourself.
Isn't there like a villain like who can change his face, the clay face kind of thing in one of them? Yeah. RoboCop 2, I have because it's not. Oh God, I should know the name of the director because Basic Instinct.
Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven, big old sexy Jesus himself. Paul Verhoeven is not directing RoboCop 2.
I think that's why I haven't seen it.
It shows when it's trying to replicate that kind of humor, but there's also a scene. I don't know why it always sticks in my head where it's like they're trying to play slapstick. So it's all about, isn't it? Nuke is the drug, and there's a sequence where RoboCop's taking down like this nuke factory, and there's a car chase, and he's on the side of the car, and from out of nowhere, RoboCop's on the side of the car, and it hits like a lamppost, and there is like a proper comedic doink, and you're like, oh, this is weird, and they build RoboCop 2.
Yeah, RoboCop fights a robot called RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
So
really,
if you find that interesting, that's.
Do you know what? I'll not lie. I'm tempted to go home from this recording and watch RoboCop 2 because it's not a great film, but I have I think it's because of the sense I watched RoboCop when I was too young. Thankfully, the sanitized TV version, not the real version that Paul Verhoeven gave us. That's a thing of nightmares at times. Not at the time, just the sequence, the death of Alex Murphy. Oof. It's pretty shocking.
And also, bitches, leave.
Yeah. And can you fly, Bobby? Sorry, I have a group of friends. We will just, if we were to text each other, we could just descend into text and lines from RoboCop. Does it hurt? Etc. Funny, none of us quote RoboCop 2?
Let's go, RoboCop 2.
Isn't there a bit in RoboCop 2 where they reprogram him?
Yeah.
They reprogram and he becomes ultra nice. And there's a bit where like he closes, like his kids are having like not a pool party, but what they call like a block party.
Yeah.
And he's like, they have all the water squirting out of one of the fire hydrants, and he just like turns it off, comes and gets out of his car, and they're like, yeah, RoboCop. And it's just like, don't. What is there's somebody does where he waves his finger. I'm actually not gonna lie. I'm gonna go and watch.
Yeah,
you're tempting me.
Watch it.
It's. But there's a thing though, Nicole. You say all this because we talked about this the Christmas. You go, oh, you've tempted me to watch this movie. Oh, I'll watch this movie. And then you go, oh, did you watch it? And then nah.
Yeah, see, that's as soon as I decide I should watch this, I don't.
Don't watch 3. Don't watch RoboCop 3. RoboCop does fly in RoboCop 3. And there's a weird samurai villain.
See, you can't tell me that.
But it's not Peter Weller.
It's not Peter Weller.
It's another bloke.
Peter Weller is back for RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I am a person who genuinely, wholeheartedly loves Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. So I will be tempted by the samurai. I really will.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
I'm going. If you tempt me with stupid things, I will. I love Madam Web. Like
we haven't even got. You haven't mentioned Madam Web. We alluded to this that you might talk about Madam Web. This is your chance. How much did you love Madam Web?
I mean, I only gave it a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
So it's as good as Mission Impossible.
I would sooner rewatch Madam Web, to be perfectly honest, because that was just.
Someone's not getting invited back.
Did you like when they kept foreshadowing the giant S from the Pepsi sign, only for the guy to get killed by the P?
My favourite part was whenever she flew to Peru and left the taxi.
That's where Jim fell asleep.
And I know.
I had a lovely nap. During Madam Web. And I was like, do that thing when you're in the cinema. It's happened a couple of times. I remember it happened in the Banshees of Inisherin, where it's that sense. And I didn't fall asleep. I mean, I love Banshees of Inisherin, but I was just tired. And when you get that sense where like, you can feel your head knocking forward, and you're like, oh, I haven't fallen asleep. And then you're like, Holy shit, she's in Peru. It happened.
I mean, that's what literally happened in the film, though.
Yeah.
And you've got the guy who looks a bit like he's from the lead from District 9. It's like, is that him? It's like, no, it's not. It's like, she's just in Peru.
I have a question. The main villain, man, was he dubbed
Yes.
the whole time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was like, he's not saying those words. I feel like I'm watching an Italian movie.
No. And he also just has grey hair at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just happened. And there was no explanation for any of it.
stick
I was
that
just
in the
like,
poster.
okay.
But she is Madam Web. She's the mistress of this web.
Oh,
Mrs. Webb.
The madam
there's-
of this web.
There's
Mrs.
only
Webb.
like 2 people who are going to understand this, but I'm a huge fan of The Real Housewives. Almost every iteration of The Real Housewives. And at the end...
Can I say, are you expecting the two of us to be the people that get this
No,
reference?
one of the people I'm expecting is one of my best friends.
Okay. If she's listened this far.
Dakota-
Or he's listened this
Dakota
far.
Johnson.
Yeah. Dakota Johnson's cat.
Good actor.
I actually got really emotional whenever she
Ceiling
pet
guy.
the cat.
Ceiling guy.
Mm.
But at the
Is it
end,
the
whenever
pigeon?
she has
Is it the pigeon? Is it the pigeon that she saves?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Whenever she has the glasses
Uncle Ben,
on,
but we don't really know he's Uncle Ben.
I genuinely didn't realise that he was Uncle Ben until afterwards.
Only when he told me he's
I-
Uncle Ben.
Lovely rice.
Yeah.
I felt stupid.
He's got a wee nephew. Name's again with P.
Literally all of that went over my head. I was just like, oh, okay.
See the shit I fucking just remembered during the week because I laughed again when they're like, tell us something nice about your mum. they turned to fucking Mrs. Webb and she's like, who put in a blank piece of paper? You would put in no piece of paper.
I know.
You would put in nothing so nobody talks to you. She's like, I'm putting a blank piece of paper in because I'm going to make a point. My man's actually dead. So stop bringing it up. This is the 9th time you've brought it up. He's just having fucking relapses.
Another pocket you reach. There's that fucking drawing again. For fuck's sake. That wee lad, stop drawing me pictures.
Why is he drawing it on fucking unfoldable paper? Bastard.
This does make the movie sound a lot more fun than it
It's
actually
not fun.
is.
It's not fun. It's the dullest thing I've seen in a while. And I am speaking as someone who has a bizarre crush on Sydney Sweeney. And I felt wrong watching her in that film. It's like, you're telling me she's 16. I know she's not 16. Why is she dressing up like she's 16? It's all right. I'll just watch Anyone But You.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Just watch Saturday Night Live.
I like she was on Saturday Night Live, just, had a top on, and not everybody in the internet. It's like, boobs are back. They did it.
Were they ever away? But yeah, so you had a lot of fun with
I
Madam Web.
had so much fun. I'm so excited to see where the future of that franchise does not go.
Nowhere. It's not going anywhere.
International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Next year.
I
Madam Web.
am looking forward to see now more excitedly Craven the Hunter.
Yeah, that's a film
That's
that does
still
exist.
happening. That's still happening. So all of this new Sony Spider-Verse, all the weight is on that and the next Venom movie.
Oh, yeah. And have you heard the plot of that?
No.
I'm going to spoil it. Right.
Go for it.
You ready? So, Eddie Brock goes to New York to be like, hey, there's this Peter Parker guy. That's my Eddie Brock impression. And it turns out they're like,
He sounds suspiciously like Bobby De Niro.
different man. And it turns out that Peter Parker's like 9. So Eddie Brock kidnaps a 9-year-old and then is like raising this kid. Doesn't that sound fun?
Can't wait.
Yes.
Bad guy's toxin. I don't know if it's still Stephen Graham, but if it is, maybe.
Can't wait.
I still haven't seen Venom 2.
Oh,
You're not missing much.
I didn't think I was.
You're not missing much.
There's a bit where he goes to a place and then he has to draw it on a piece of paper, and Venom, because Venom has the power to draw really fast. But this is a visual, but he has 2 pens on a piece of paper and then goes like the mask and draws a perfect map of where he needs to be, and Tom Hardy's eyes is like as he goes.
Oh, you're making me want to watch this now.
It's on Netflix, I believe.
Hey, you know what? It's worth a watch.
Well, here's the thing. We're talking about sequels. Venom 2 or RoboCop 2?
RoboCop 2.
Which
RoboCop
one's
2.
more stupid?
RoboCop 2.
RoboCop 2.
Oh, then I will be watching RoboCop. 2.
RoboCop 2. I expect a message from Nicole to be like either I loved it or hate it.
It's on Amazon if you subscribe to MGM, but give it a wee
My
free.
subscription to that literally ran out like 3 days ago.
You can probably buy it in DVD and HMV for £1.
CX. The last film I'll mention, I alluded to earlier, although I keep getting the name of the film wrong. Late Night with the Devil was out. It's going to be out, I think, later this month. I got to see it at London Film Festival last year. I was very excited about this film. So the basic premise, we have a chat show host in the 80s. He's going up against Johnny Carson. He's losing in the ratings. Decides to bring on a guest that may or may not be possessed by a demonic entity, and things go horribly wrong. I was really excited about seeing this film last year because I love Ghost Watch. It's a thing that just hit me right at the right time when it was released in the 90s, 91, I'm going to say 92, 91 I believe. Right at the perfect age, Halloween night, scared the shit out of me, and probably in a way I have been chasing that kind of fix for something that we screened it last year for the festival at the Strand, and I look at it now and you go, Jim, how the fuck did you fall for this? But I was 9.
So you watched it whenever it actually...
Yeah. I've got to, I mean, not to be that person that Amber always says, oh, you drop something there. I've interviewed the director and I was like, I always want to say, me now is 42, I absolutely love you and think I love what you've brought me with Ghostwatch. But as my 9-year-old self, you're a bad woman. You terrified me. And it's Stephen Volk, I think, as well as the writer. Ghostwatch, you've never seen it, is brilliant and it's off its time. And just this great fake out that wasn't a fake out. They made it quite clear it's pre-recorded, it's not live, it's a production, but they fooled the nation into thinking that, you know, God rest him, but Michael Parkinson had succumbed to the devil. Nasty things had happened to Sarah Green, and we were all watching an exorcism live on screen on Halloween night. I was there and terrified. When you see something like this and you look at it in the trailer, you see, okay, this is channeling that kind of vibes. And Adam, this is a point where I'll always cut to you when we talk about, I can never remember the name of the lead actor in Late Night with the Devil.
David Dastmalchian.
Yes, him. And really intrigued, seeing the trailer. When I watched the film at London last year, I did come away from it a little bit cold because I felt it's like, I was talking about Joe after the TV show this week, just before he flew off to Hollywood. I was saying would be a great section on like VHS, like maybe half hour, 40 minutes, stretching it out to an hour and a half. People will listen to me, and you may or may not agree. There is some amazing sequences in it and some great ideas, but I just don't think structurally it works. In the sense of what it's trying to do, that we're watching tapes of a broadcast that were never aired or went off air, and you're meant to be seeing stuff behind the scenes. There's a real commitment to that. I think by the time it reaches the finale, I don't think it works. There's this idea of things we're watching. Are they real? Are they not real? I don't know if it works. It goes a little bit gribbly and nasty near the end. There's a lot more creature features. I think it's fine. Interesting but flawed. Personally, go back and watch. If you've never seen Ghostwatch, go watch Ghostwatch. And I guess it's the confines of what you can do on television. I suppose, ironically, back in the 90s, you have to be inventive with your scares and what you're trying to do. When you are releasing the feature now, and you can pretty much, if you want to have a head explode, maggots, etc., come out of someone's head, you can do that, no problem. But back in the 90s in BBC One, you have to have a camera passing by and have someone in the background going, here, was that Pipes bastard in the background there? You have to do the double glance? That creeps me more than gribbly and nastiness. And there's kind of hints, kind of, not, I suppose, Freemasons and cults near the end, where I think I don't know if it works. Give it a go. I'm a horror fan. I didn't hate it. I just think there's an interesting idea. The marketing, I guess, from the London Film Festival's point of view, heavily referenced Ghostwatch, and that got me excited. I would say Host, which was out, Rob Savage a couple of years ago, is a better idea of someone channeling what someone tried to do with Ghostwatch. It's fine. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen it yet, Adam?
Not yet. I know Gav is reviewing it for the Fright Club, but it's out here end of the month in Shudder in April. I'm excited for it. I've actually been avoiding the trailer because I know it's like a found footage movie, so it's obviously going to show all the big scares. But
because this is my problem when you have that idea of found footage. I know I'm overthinking things. It's how do you get this footage? And when you find yourself thinking about that, I don't think your film's worked. If you can dispel belief even till afterwards and you're like walking home going, where the fuck did they get that or this? How did that happen? But when you're actually doing it, when you're watching the film, you're like, I don't know if this works. Perfectly fine. If you're looking for something, I don't know when it's being released. It may already be on Shudder. I've waxed lyrical about the film since I've seen it in London last year. Stop motion, I believe, is coming to Shudder at some point, or already has been released on Shudder.
End of the month.
Watch that for a really well executed, gribbly, nasty horror film. It's got the lead actress from Jennifer Kent's follow-up to The Babadook, which is the Nightingale. Irish actress, she's absolutely fab. There's a great horror film. I don't know if it'll go underneath the radar or not. Late Night with the Devil. I'm surprised the amount of I know it's getting screened, The Lighthouse down in Dublin are screening it. Probably get screened here, maybe at the QFT. I think there'll be a lot of disappointed people, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just me.
It seems to have gained a lot of traction over the past.
It has, and I was looking at IMDb. It's got strong reviews. I guess it's just me. I've watched it twice. I've watched it at London. I watched it for the screener. Second time round, knowing where it goes. Again, there's some great bits. Do you know what it actually reminded me of? It made me want to watch Repossessed. There's a wee gem of a movie. We talked about Repossessed before. We were talking about The Exorcist, but that's essentially the premise of Repossessed, and this kind of putting the exorcism live on stage on front of a TV audience. That's essentially what you're getting, and I probably had more fun with Repossessed, although I haven't watched it in a while, so it could be rose-tinted nostalgia glasses.
There is an episode of the Creep Show TV show on Shudder. I think it's like the second season, where it's set up as a QVC sort of show, and on that show they read the Necronomicon. That's a good episode of. But
I'm like, roughly how long is that?
20 minutes.
I think that Late Night with the Devil, I don't know how long. I mean, the VHS movies, or the VHS movies are like, what, an hour and a half, 2 hours? Each section's maybe about 10, 15 minutes. I think there's I would love to know, and I don't know because it's I'm trying to look over the Cairns brothers who directed this. I don't know offhand if it came from a short and evolved in, but it does feel like a short that has been stretched to breaking point. But that's just me. That's my review. I know that's not out yet, but it's going to probably be out in some cinemas at least by the time this podcast is out or near enough before we're next recording. So we are going to move on and wrap up the show. But Adam, you're looking at me. Anything else you've watched this week?
Just because I know it's one of your favourites. Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation.
There is a film. There is a film, and I fucking love that film.
Gene Hackman.
When's Gene Hackman ever not good in anything? No, never.
Although I did on my Letterboxd review say he wears the worst coat in cinema history.
He wears it well.
He wears it well.
Have you seen The Conversation?
I haven't actually.
It's the thinnest material of a coat. Do you remember this coat? It's like a Mac, but it's so see-through. Great film. Fantastic.
It's an amazing film. And you think he made that, if I'm right, in between The Godfather and Godfather Part 2?
Yeah.
So that was kind of like his little kind of project to kind of clear himself in between those two big projects. Oscar nominated as well. Just the final scene's great. There's so many sequences. Do you know what? I'm not going to let myself go off on a big kind of gush fest because I've already talked too much and we're probably already over our time. But the sound design of the conversation is amazing. Even from that opening sequence in the park to kind of there's sequences in the, like when he's in the hotel room and there's the sequence with the, you know what I'm talking about, there's a sequence with the toilet.
Yeah.
And the sounds, that's just amazing. Fantastic film.
Would make a great double bill with Blowout.
Oh.
So maybe in the future, Jim, we'll do a conversation Blowout double bill.
Yeah.
Also,
and talk about the movies as well. Over here.
Also, one of the only 4 films to star John Cassell, who's one of my favourites in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, he's great.
So good.
Yeah.
And in The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
Is that the bit? Oh, I know. The bit where...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good film.
I just did that and you knew what I meant.
It's an audio medium.
We don't want to spoil The Godfather.
Don't want to spoil it. No, Conversation, great film. Another film I haven't watched in a long time. I have a lovely Criterion version of that sitting at home. But look, we are going to move on and wrap up this week's show. Now, listeners, we have the chance, because a couple of weeks ago, James Stafford from the Talking Codswallop pod got in touch with us. We've started a new feature, which we, of course, have dubbed Cinematic Nightmares. Basically, we want to know your cinema-going horror stories, and we will then decide, So we've started a new feature. Nicole, you're looking at me, you're very intrigued, where we ask our listeners to get in touch and say, look, give us a time when you had the cinematic horror, the cinematic experience from hell. When all, as much as we love cinemas and they are temples to cinema, sometimes it can go wrong. And sometimes, so what we've done is we do a little feature where we get someone in to message in and we'll decide if it's worthy of this.
Jesus, that's awful.
That's what we're going with. So we've had Jim McMorrow. We've had Brian Mulholland. Both stories sexual related. I don't know if that says more about the cinema goers in Belfast, but James Stafford a couple of weeks ago got in touch with us and said he had a doozy of a cinematic horror story for us. And I don't know, I feel bad because we've got you in the studio, Nicole. So I don't know, Adam, do you think we should do it this week? Or do you think we should, maybe wait for a little bit? Do you think we should have Nicole's cinematic horror story? She may or may not have one. Or should we finally let James?
Well, I've heard James's, and I think it's too shocking.
Too?
For this week's episode.
Too shocking. We've already talked about a couple of horror movies and Late Night with the Devil, so it might be too scary.
Too scary.
Okay, so I think, James, well, not next week. Week after,
James.
Week after. We promise. It's going to be there.
Wood.
We promise, touch wood. Unless someone comes up with a real doozy that can top that.
But
Nicole, since we've got you here, we want to know now, have you got a cinematic horror story you can tell us? When just your trip to the multiplex, when it all went a bit wrong.
The main one that comes to mind that still traumatizes me to this day.
With a capital T?
Yes.
Like horse lips?
I was about 5, 6-ish whenever 102 Dalmatians came out, the live action one. Went to the cinema with my mum to see it. Was really, 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 really excited about it.
Can't wait to see all these dogs get killed.
I was just excited about dogs in general.
The last coat's dirty, so I need a new one.
I don't think that my brain had fully grasped what these movies are actually about. And then I saw Glenn Close and I cried so hard that my mum had to take me out of the cinema. And I still to this day have not seen that entire film because I can't really look at Glenn Close anymore.
What was it about it that scared? Just
the fact that she was murdering dogs.
But did she? What I'm imagining, right? And I know this doesn't work when it's a microphone. We just sit and watch it. Oh, it's great. There's wee dogs. There's wee dogs just fluffing about. There's wee Pongo, whatever the other one's called. And there's I don't know who else was in it. I don't know. Maybe later life Emma Stone might be in something about her. And then you just looked up and Glenn Close. I'm just imagining. Sorry, listeners. She just kind of turned round, and you're like, Jesus, no. Or was it just a case of because I've had a similar experience with Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters too. We've talked about that. We've talked about that. So this sounds similar.
Yeah,
that leaves a mark.
Yeah, I don't know
on the cinema seat.
It probably did.
Yeah.
I remember next to nothing about the experience other than leaving the cinema, just tears streaming down my face, and I still to this day give my mum shit for it. Even though it's not her fault, she didn't force me to go see it. I wanted to see it.
Did your mum leave you back in the car and she goes, "Here, love, I'll just be snack. I'm going to go back and watch the rest of the movie"?
I think she was happy to leave, to be honest. She's not really.
So how far do you think you got into that?
Not even halfway.
Your mum said, "No, Jeff Daniels, not for me."
I don't know, Adam. So we've had 2 sexual stories in previous, but I'm going to say here, as someone who's had a similar experience to Nicole, that does leave a mark.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Do you think that's worthy of our little jingle?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, so Nicole, this is for your. How old were you?
5 or 6.
This is for your 5 or 6-year-old self.
Jesus, that's awful.
So there you go. So James, that story, the story James has is even more shocking than that. Shocking. So, I mean, it's like, I think, back in the days when Jerry Springer used to release the Too Hot for TV.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to release a special edition of this pod with James Stafford from Talking Codswallop, Too Hot for More Than Pixels on a Screen. I think that's what we'll have to do. So, yeah. So, that is pretty much us out of time. All that really left for me to do is the formalities. So, thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Nicole.
We will be back in 2 weeks' time. Well, Adam and I will be back in 2 weeks' time, unless we have decided to do something for the Oscars. I don't know. That may or may not be a pod, or it may be on social media. Again, I don't know. Do you know, Adam?
Let's say yes.
Yes, there will be something. We just don't know what it is. But we're going to take a little break next week because I'm quite proud of myself. We're 4 weeks in. And so far, I've been keeping up the routine of the pod being released as promised on a Monday. Usually, I let that slide by the first week. I'm keeping it up. But we're going to take a little break. And I know that at the Strand Arts Centre later this month, possibly early April, around Easter, I think it is, they are going to be showing the remastered version of The Abyss, James Cameron's classic. And before Christmas, regular listeners will know that Joe and I started to do the longest ever. I think possibly James Cameron could have made Avatar 3 by the time we get round to completing this. But we said ourselves we were going to do a James Cameron retrospective. There's not that many films.
No.
But I think we've only got through Avatar, Titanic, True Lies. I had to think about that. And then we recorded The Abyss just before Christmas. Never got round to releasing it, just a few things, and we had to prioritise the Christmas special.
Of course.
Big Marty, he's not going to come in, don't worry. We had to get that done. But Joe and I sat down to talk about The Abyss. There may be a few Christmas references that have dated horribly. But we're going to play that pod out next week, and then Adam, you and I will be back. We may have a guest, we may not. And I guess we'll be probably gearing up for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, because that's going to be out later this month. Excited about that?
Since we might have some of the Ghostbusters people in, yeah, I'm excited.
Whoop. Whoop. You excited, Nicole?
I still haven't seen the last one.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
But I kind of do want to watch this one.
I'm just really intrigued right now as we record the fact that I'm hoping it's going to be a Ghostbusters movie free from Gozer. And if you can do that and you can do a whole new thing, then I'll be pleased. But we'll have to wait and see. So, look, that's a future pod. So next week, it's kind of going back to an old kind of format with Joe McElroy and I talking about The Abyss. And then in a couple of weeks' time, you will have Adam and I back with More Than Pixels on a screen and high-quality banter like this. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So all that's left for me to do, as I've already said, thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you very much, Adam. We'll be back next week with another pod. But for now, until then, goodbye.